I had my first teacher-parent conference yesterday. I was so nervous.
Oh my gosh, really? For kindergarten, you were nervous?
Yes, I was nervous. I will explain why in a second. But first, are you introducing?
Yes. Hello, and welcome to the next episode of It's Your Time to Shine, a podcast about being a mom in a modern world. My name is Juspreet Kaur, and with me is my friend, Lisa Vora. Hey, Lisa.
Hi, a very relieved Lisa Vora because the conference went well, I think.
Oh my gosh, tell me what happened. I'm so curious.
Well, I was nervous because I don't really know where Allie stands because Allie, and this is probably very natural for a lot of people, but you don't really know where I don't know where she stands. Like, she's one personality with certain kids. She has another personality with other kids. Sometimes she gets stuff I teach her. Sometimes she doesn't. So I wasn't really I wasn't really sure how it all plays out in school. You know?
Right.
Tell me you went through this too with all three kids.
I did go through it. No, I did go through it with some kids and some teachers, but a little later, not in kindergarten so much.
It could be because you were busy with two other kids. That's why. See, you were preoccupied. I'm not. I only have one child.
It could definitely be that. You know what else? I think I'm a little bit anti-establishment. And so for me, the idea that they're going to be rating and grading my kid, I'm not big on that, right?
No, you are right. And I learned a lot yesterday. I do like her kindergarten teacher. But yeah, as a matter of fact, she had emailed me we'll talk about all the kids, social and emotional development. And in my head, I was like, can we talk about the social and emotional development of this country? Because most people are not developed.
Yeah, exactly. And that's more of a concern. And, being that we talk about privilege a lot, I feel like being that my husband and I have had the privilege of really great education, we don't emphasize the importance of education as much. If someone did not have access to education, they would probably be pushing for their children to get ahead. Actually, not probably, they definitely would. That's the immigrant experience. My mom didn't go to school after 8th grade, I think, 8th or 9th grade. And so for us, the primary thing when we were younger was just study and get through school, study and get through school. It was don't learn how to cook, don't learn how to do this, don't learn how to do that.
Yeah, it made it even more for your mom to make sure that you guys got what she didn't get.
Yes. Her dream was that we would be able to achieve all the things that she didn't have an opportunity to try. And then with our kids, we're here we are after getting going to the best schools. My parents made it a point to have us test into high performing magnet schools, so that we could have that opportunity and get exposure to classes that you normally wouldn't get exposure to. And then here I am with my kids geometry is not that important.
Oh, yeah, we kind of go backward a little bit, or we're a little bit more relaxed with our kids because that's a good insight. Yeah.
I do. I think that from kindergarten until 3rd grade, it's really it should be more about social stuff. That's what standardized testing in Texas really gets under my skin sometimes, because then you start teaching to the test so that you can pass the test. Right. And it's everyone's going to catch up. By the time you're in 4th grade, most kids are averaging out on reading level by then. You don't have these huge swings. And it's more important to be a socially sound individual at that point, right?
So, I 100% agree. And that's why kindergarten's frustrating me right now. But the teacher's on my page, so that's why the conference went well.
Yeah. So tell me more about what did they do?
We've talked about this before. I never even let Allie be on an iPad. And now I'm teaching her the iPad because I'm gosh, you need it, for school.
Oh, do they need it for school?
There's so many apps out there that help them, with ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. And I'm okay, she can do just that app, Yeah, she took a test on a computer 2 days ago or yesterday.
Oh, really?
And the teacher was I was frustrated for these kids because they're in kindergarten. We basically spent most of the time teaching them how to use the mouse. And I was yeah, I've never, ever put Allie in front of a computer. And I barely just touched the iPad. And meanwhile, most kids her age know the iPad. But I'm okay with that.
It's funny that the teacher is saying oh, we spent most of the time teaching him to use the mouse.
Yeah, exactly. It says something, right?
Well, why would they ever have access to a mouse anyway? Teach them how to use a mobile phone. If anything, they probably know it's so much more intuitive.
Well, and I also said that it's actually even if they're thinking, their thought is, they need to know computers and this, that, who's going to be using a PC in 15 years? Yeah. With a mouse.
Who's using a PC now?
How's that helping? Yeah, right. Who's using it now? Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, I'm recording right now on a PC, but generally, like even my work computer is a MacBook. I feel like
Oh, yeah, exactly. I'm a Mac.
there's so much more apples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't regret what I've done till now, which is I've been more focused on us, our relationship, hanging out, not like I'm not an iPad mom. I'm not saying anything bad about iPad moms, but I just haven't been. And I'm not always interacting either. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm perfect. And I don't even know if that's perfect because at some point it's like, go do your thing,
Right. Mm-hmm.
But like, color or read a book, look at letters, things like that. Get quiet time in your room, stuff like that. I'll let her watch TV, but not too much. And she doesn't even like TV, so it doesn't really do anything for me. Sometimes.
Yeah, I don't even know, like, I agree with you, and I don't know what the right answer is either.
Right.
Like, it's difficult to know. You do need to be able to spend time with yourself and entertain yourself.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I will say, like, and I have limited access and usage of iPads and devices a lot more than other moms, I think, children of the same age as me.
Okay.
But still, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that like I waited to get Pavneet the phone until she was 14.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's 15 and she has had a phone for over a year. And guess what? Technology is addictive.
Right.
It just is addictive, and it's addictive for any of us. It doesn't matter when they're exposed. They could have 14 years of device-free living and then a year with a device, and it's like, I want to chill and be on my phone. So this is really interesting because Kindergarten for Allie is coming 10 years later than Kindergarten for Pavneet.
Oh, wow.
And
yeah.
To kind of see what's changed. I had a conversation with Hargun's teacher. So she's in 6th grade now. I had a conversation with her teacher and I said, listen, my daughter doesn't have a phone and I don't want to get her a phone. Is that going to be an impediment for her in school? Like, does she actually need a device? And her teachers, by and large, were like, oh my gosh, that's so great. It's fantastic that you're doing that. And I said, listen, just be honest with me because I know that she's in the minority now in that most kids do have either a phone or an iPad or something that they can bring in and even get on Wi-Fi. And they said, no, we totally support that. 2 teachers specifically said to me, I think it's amazing that you're doing that. You must be a really good parent.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. And it's harder when the majority is doing it. It's harder to go against the grain.
Exactly. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. Okay. So I'm like thinking, okay, we're all on the same page. 2 days later, what do they say to the entire class? Take out your devices and go to this website.
Oh, no.
And then answer these questions. And I'm like, why would you not say, if you don't have a device, come and grab this Chromebook? That's all you have to do. The only thing you have to do is say, like, if you don't.
Yeah, you asked for honesty at that point. You didn't ask for a pat on the back. You asked for honesty.
Yes. So then I ended up writing one of her teachers and saying, like, hey, I know we had this conversation, but it sounds like there is a need for Google Classroom and the ability to search on things often in your class. Is it possible that you could give us like a one-day heads up when the lesson plan includes that so that I can allow her to bring like an iPod or an iPad on that day? And he's like, oh yeah, for sure. And anytime if she doesn't have a device, she can also grab one of the Chromebooks that we have in the room. We have like 6 of them for the class. And so I told her that. I was like, hey, he said you could grab the Chromebooks. And she was like, he doesn't let us get up and he doesn't let us ask questions. And I'm like, what the heck?
And he doesn't take accountability for saying to you, good job, while he had the iPad the next day.
I know.
What's going on with this teacher?
And I'm like, let's just put 2 and 2 together. And like, whenever I point out flaws in the system, I'm like an implementation person by trade. So I'm like, okay, here's your objective. And then how are you going to get to the objective? But I'm like, remember, teachers are so underpaid. They don't even have time to like really think. And he's like, everything, like there's so many kids in the classrooms are overcrowded and they're doing the lesson plans at night and they can't remember. And he was like, just remember that they're not like consultants and they don't have the liberty of being like, were we effective today?
And that's what makes it even more important that as a parent, we realize it's not just the teacher who's teaching, we are too. We continue to.
Yeah.
Like we can't just be like, oh, she's in school, all's good. Like we still have to sit and say, okay, what's going on? At least I feel that way.
Yeah. Like, what are you learning? What are they teaching? How do they talk about things?
Yeah. No, but I am. I do. I also, without this, so Allie is quote unquote behind with iPad, but I don't care because I think her social development, it can't replace that. It's easy to learn technology and iPad. It's hard to learn how to live and form relationships in your
And be a nice person.
exactly in your formative years, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, speaking of that, yeah, so I was a little nervous, but yesterday just because I just wasn't sure based on it was like not like it's my test, but it was just like how is she doing? I can't explain it. I was nervous. I just was.
Oh, it's totally a test of parenting. That's how it's set up. Parent teacher conference is like, and now we will evaluate what you've done for the last 5 years.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm going through my own thing right now with work and leaving work and making the documentary, and my animator's doing things, and we're just going back and forth and disagreeing. And I'm like, oh my God, was all this for nothing? At least tell me Allie's doing awesome, and it was all worth it. I just want that validation. It's wrong because it shouldn't come from there.
Are you projecting a little bit?
I'm projecting a lot of bit.
Are you projecting a possible midlife crisis onto Allie's performance in kindergarten?
The entire thing I'm weighing on that poor little girl. The whole thing. But anyway, my point is that's why I was nervous, right? But no, it went pretty well all in all. I mean, we're still at a place we don't really know where she stands, but the teacher made it so clear that, first of all, she's like the youngest in class, you know? So,
yes.
And kindergarten is the biggest gap, she was saying. I was like, okay. But all in all, she's doing great, you know, just, yeah. I mean, I don't have to go specifically of how Allie's doing, you know, but
right.
All in all, she's doing great. She gets things. It's just that it doesn't translate sometimes because she isn't following instruction, but it's more instruction than understanding. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so
totally.
They have all these worksheets. Okay, I got to tell you, though, about these worksheets. She was showing them to me in a lot of patterns and stuff, and I was like, okay. And then she's like, and Allie, like, she had them right, but it said, you know, with 1-to-1, they had to work with her, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I looked at it. I was like, I got to be honest with you, Miss Johns. And I'm like, I look at this piece of paper, and I'm like, I don't know if I can answer this. She goes, these worksheets are ridiculous. I'm like, you think that everyone gets these right? Like, all the kids in class are just sitting there like, what are we supposed to do? And then she's like, I feel so bad. So her backstory, she was a teacher like 12, 13 years ago, and then she stayed home with her kids for the last few years.
Oh, interesting.
We actually bonded on that because I'm like, oh, wow, I did the same thing, and I'm actually making a film about it the first year of parenting. She's like, oh my God, you know, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so she's like, she just came back 2-3 years ago, and she's like, I'm shocked at how things have changed. Because when I was teaching 12 years ago, kindergarten, first grade, at least up until then, was more like preschool. They were playing. They were out. They were playing more. And now they are expected, all of them are expected to read by first grade. So I was like, wow. She goes, and they all do because we sit there and they're doing worksheet after worksheet, and all of them are like, what? And she was just talking to me about how she feels so bad. And then I was like, so she goes, Allie is fine. Just as how she said it. Allie is fine, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I think it went well. Not because she said, oh my God, your kid is gifted, you know?
Right.
But it went well. That she actually, and I was like, are you sure? Because and I also, not like you, but like just wanted honest. I'm like, please tell me honestly if she does need work on certain things. She goes, no, I am. And these are the things we could work on. But other than that, she's great. And she actually said she's very, very smart. I had to throw that in, didn't I? But no, she's very smart. But you don't know, like, the teacher's in the same place we are with Allie. Certain moments, she's so smart. She comes up with things like, how'd you come up with that? And then other moments, she's like, no, I don't feel like doing this, you know? Like, I don't know.
She sounds like the average American worker.
Yeah, she probably is. Disgruntled.
Lacks motivation, but has the ability to really be brilliant.
The most important thing she said is that these kids are happy and they have a big heart. And your daughter is so delightful. Everyone likes her.
Aww.
And she's just, people want to be around her. They missed her when she was in school yesterday and blah, blah. That to me was like the number one. That that the kids want to hang out with her, and she's so sweet.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Being called delightful is like a compliment that not many people get.
Yeah. And then Ellie actually walked out because I was out in the hallway, and she saw me and she went, oh, Mommy. And then she's like, should I get out of line? I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I want to go give her a hug. I was like, get over here. And she came and gave me a kiss.
That's so cute. And then the teacher was like, excuse me, Miss Vora, please do not break the sanctity of the line.
You have ruined it.
Yes. You've heard my little spiel about how, like, when you go to public school or actually any school, they start to socially condition us, right? Our children and us. It's like, stand in line, wait, be quiet, be patient, things in turn. And some of it's important. I'm not saying like it should be like India where there is no line and it's just mass exodus, right? But also some of it, like, it bothers me when you like see your kids and they see you and they make eye contact and you can see they're like, Mama's here, but they don't move because they're like, oh, I'm not like allowed to do this.
Yes, that's what happened. She's been conditioned not to leave. Yes.
Yeah. And you're like, but no, like run up to me. And then it'll become even more. It'll be like later as they get older, like they don't want to hug you in front of their friends. They don't want to give you kisses. Like,
yeah, I'm sure that's going to happen. So I want to enjoy it while it lasts.
I made Amrik allow me to hug him and give him a kiss on the cheek on his first day of school, even though he didn't like it. Because I was like, listen, I gave birth to you with no anesthesia. Okay. And I was like, I went through a lot of pain and like, you are my everything. So if your friends think that's weird, they don't understand how much a mom loves a kid. And he's like, okay, Mom. And he's taller than me now. So he like leaned down a little bit and like let me kiss his cheek. And I was like, thank you. Siana Putter, thank you.
Yeah, I'm like you. I don't care. I'm the mom who walks in with like sweatshirt. I don't even care. And, and I'm like, come over here. I am new at this because I went to the office yesterday and I had to get my picture. They were taking my picture and I was like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Like, oh, just you can smile. You can, just have a goofy face. I'm like, really? And I went, and I have this really goofy like look, like my mouth is open. And then I looked around the office. I'm like, it's obvious that it's new for me, this whole school thing, because I'm still acting like I'm 12. And I forgot that I'm the mom. Anyway,
hilarious.
I have to send you that picture.
Yeah, that would be funny. Oh, that would be cute. So won't that be your picture every time you go now?
I don't know. I think I get to take a new picture. Oh my God, it might be. Whatever.
No,
that's
it's
even
the
funnier.
Same picture every time.
They looked in the back office. They're like, that's hilarious. That took some guts.
Yeah. Or they'll be like, well, that's dorky. Now we can't really recognize her. And the purpose of the picture is to make sure that she's really the person that she says she is.
Whatever. If they think it's dorky, even more success for me. You can tell
That's
it's
hilarious.
me. You know what? I'll just walk around like that. I'll just walk around with my mouth open, like I'm going, ah! There, they'll recognize me, at least when I walk into the school.
So related to your parent-teacher conference, that made me think about something I've been thinking about all week, which is confidence builders, little things that we can do, personal life, professional life, parenting life, that helps to build confidence in relationships and kind of says like, hey, this is hard, but we're on the right track. And I think like the confidence builder that you get from your teacher kind of saying like, she's fine. The form that I fill out has me like report on her reading level and report on how long it took her to read a passage and how many math problems she can do in a minute. But that's not the only reflection. And she just kind of like stopped and said like, okay, you can breathe, take a breath, Mom, everything's fine. We need to do more of that just like in society in general.
I really like her kindergarten teacher. She was very much like, next few years, I'll still work, like come back to me in a few years. We'll talk like, about whatever, advanced classes, things like that. And I was like, oh, wow. But she's like holding my hand, which is awesome because I need hand holding.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. Especially with the mom who keeps their mouth open for a picture. So, yeah.
Right.
Speaking of confidence, obviously this is like, Psych 101 here. But like females, especially like when it comes to body image, we just aren't confident. We see being skinny is synonymous with beauty. And I'm still like that. So I actually posted it on our site. I saw a video today about a 4-minute video. It was a research experiment, which, by the way, doing a little research experiment in a 4-minute video, so up my alley. But anyway, between psych and video making. But that's a side note. Anyway, so they took like 12 girls or something. And, a third of them, they were 12, third of them 8 or 9, and a third of them 6. So 6 is like, oh, wow, almost like just a little bit older than Allie, right?
Right, like first grade.
Yeah. And they took a picture of them, just normal picture. And then what they did with that picture, they added 3 more pictures using a filter to slim them down, right?
Okay.
Like slim, slimmer, slim, like thin, thinner, thinnest, right?
Okay.
And same thing, the opposite. They used a filter to make them bigger, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a total of like 7, 8 pictures, right? And they put them up on the board in order from like, fat to skinny.
Skinny to fat, yeah, uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. And then they asked a 12-year-old, they're like, so all these pictures, They asked 2 questions. All these pictures, which one do you like best? And the 12-year-old said the skinniest one, which is not accurate. Is not accurate, right? And then they also asked, which one do you think you are? And almost all of them said the picture that was actually bigger. So they see themselves as bigger than they are.
Really?
And they want to be. So they're going through this experiment, and then they go to the 6-year-old. And I'm thinking, okay, the 6-year-old will say, and that's the whole point of this video, right? Is going to say, oh, I like who I am because, and they're making this argument that it happens as you get older. But, when you're 6, you don't think about it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. So this is what I'm going through watching this video. And they go to the 6-year-old and same exact thing. The 6-year-old wants to be skinniest. Seriously,
No
Jess, I
way.
started crying. Actually started crying.
Oh my gosh.
It really affected me. It did. It just, a 6-year-old wanting to be the skinniest. I don't know, something about that really. And then the 6-year-old saw themselves as bigger than they are. And I'm like, how does that happen at 6? I don't know. I got emotional about it for obvious reasons, but also because I have a problem. I'm like that. If that same test had been me, I would have said skinniest, and I probably would have seen myself 2 sizes bigger.
Oh, yeah, I definitely would.
And the tears came from that realization and that how am I supposed to teach my kid any different when I am like that? And I'm not here to tell you this because I want solutions. I'm not telling you because, or I don't want to pretend like I have it all figured out. This is something I struggle with, and this video really literally it was an hour ago I saw it. It just affected me, and it's making me think and self-reflect. And I don't have a solution. Obviously, the solution is, well, I've got to change. I know that. I know I do. I have to change. I should be okay with being a few pounds heavier. I shouldn't, because I have a problem. I want to be the skinniest I've ever been, right? Because I grew up chubby.
Yeah, and that's so and like our own perception is really our own perception. Because I look at you and I'm like, if I were Lisa's weight, I would just eat whatever I want. I wouldn't worry about it.
I know. You're right.
It's all relative. And I'm sure there's somebody who might have in their opinion, they might think they have a few more pounds than me to lose, and they might be thinking that about me.
Exactly. And because we never see ourselves as perfect as we are,
Yeah.
And even with me, with this, like even just recently, like earlier in the summer, I had like lost whatever, like 2 pounds or 3 pounds, which is less than normal for me.
Yeah.
And, I thought I would be happier. Like, I'm like, cool. And I found myself struggling then too to keep it up. And I'm just tired.
Again. So the fact that 6-year-olds are thinking that way, absolutely the parents are influencing children. Like when we say things, they are noticing that. But it must be more than that too. Like all these ads and commercials and what they see on TV, like the shapes and sizes of actors and actresses, it's got to be affecting them somehow. And I don't know, like I'm trying to think back. Children's shows also have good-looking people on them. Like if you look at Disney or Nickelodeon.
Yep, they're skinny.
Yeah, and they're all wearing nice clothes. And that must be affecting them. And, for our population, like I grew up watching Sesame Street and Electric Company. And those were, because they were PBS, they were so diverse and they were so like not into that, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And now my kids watch Nickelodeon and Disney, and all of the shows on there is a little more diversity than there was when we were kids, but it's still diversity in one direction. They're always still thin and tall, and they're always well-dressed, and
they're always good looking.
Yes, they're always still good looking.
They're always good looking still too.
Yes.
Like just beautiful, like perfect face, even if they decide they want, a darker skinned person like Moana in one of their Disney movies, right? She's still very pretty.
She's still beautiful and adorable and dainty and petite.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other issue because, Allie's going through that too. Like she wishes she was taller and blonder.
Yeah.
So
that's
blonder. I mean, that's not even right. She was taller and blonde. So, and that's a whole other thing.
That's a bummer.
But you know what? I'm not shocked about society. I was shocked about the 6-year-old.
Well, I just think that it's eye-opening.
Yeah, it was eye-opening. And I use eye-opening very sarcastically. I'm like, oh, more eye-opening research about nothing, And literally my eyes were open. So anyway, it's just something to think about. And at least for me, is just how we use our words with our children, So we try, like Samir and I always try to say fit. We don't want to say thin, skinny, or fat. But
Mhm.
I don't know how successful we are. But, we try. That's a separate issue than my own personal image.
You know what I said yesterday? Because we've had so many guests coming to stay with us. And whenever someone comes to town, of course, in San Antonio, this like Texas thing, we go out to eat, right? And we've been eating a lot and like eating such good food. So 2 days ago, I put on my jeans and I was like, oh my gosh, my jeans are tight. I need to start working out and stop eating M&Ms all the time. And of course, my kids hear that. And I don't think about that. I'm not thinking for them, right? I'm just thinking like whatever comes to mind. But those little things are going to affect them. Like if their jeans are tight one day, they're going to be like, oh, I need to go work out, which that's not the reason to work out. That's not the only reason to work out. Like also it reduces stress. It makes me feel better. I sleep better. Like there's so many reasons to work out and be healthy.
And that should be the lesson because I've been working out for a long time. But I have to say, the last 5-6 years, and this is where I'm a little bit proud, not proud, but this is where I've made some adjustments to my personal body image,
Right.
But
yeah.
it used to be like 5-6 years ago, because I connected working out with being thin, I would replace working out with just eating 100 less calories, if that makes sense, right?
You were doing like an accounting method and trying to offset it.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to work out today. I just won't eat 200 calories. I'm good, right?
Right.
But once I started noticing that working out was actually just helping me mentally make better decisions, the endorphins, and just more centered as a all-around centered person, I stopped connecting it with being thin and calories. And that's the lesson I want Allie and our children to get early, that it's to be healthy, to feel good, to feel centered, but not to be skinny.
Yeah. I really like that. And a few episodes ago when I was talking with Rena and we had that episode about exercising, she said that one of the things that she was hoping for Bhavneet is that this would be something in her toolkit that when she's stressed, when she doesn't know what to do, she can turn to exercising. I loved that.
Yeah.
Exercising was never framed that way for me.
No, that's a really good way to put it.
In fact, exercising in gym class for me when I was in school was like something you had to do. And then later in life, it was like, if you want to counteract gaining weight, then you work out. And to your point, exercising has the ability to like really build confidence because like I go to the gym and like, I'll be on, like I'm worse than you are in terms of like how I see myself. And like when I take a picture being like, oh, I don't like this picture and take it again.
Yeah.
Or like trying to do the angles and stuff. Right. And my thing is harder because I don't suffer from the confidence. I think like if you grow up with a body image issue, I think is different than if later in life you have the image, like the body image thing come up later. It's just different. I'm not saying it's worse or better.
It's different. It's two different tracks of getting,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. For me, it's like I had my children very close in age and my body didn't recover. And so I just have this extra weight that I have a hard time getting off. But when I go to the gym and work out, I realize how strong I am. Like I can lift a lot of weight. And so like from that perspective, I'm like, think about that. Like I can deadlift 70 pounds. That's a lot.
And that's what we should be teaching our children. Yeah.
Yes. And I've been seeing some Instagram video bloggers like that talk about like different exercise techniques. And Rena actually did a great job of pointing it out to me. She was like, look at this person. She has all these followers. She's deadlifting 25 pounds. She was like, you do 70. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's true. So yeah, maybe I'm not the weight in numbers that I want to be, but I'm like really happy with my strength and like how I feel. And you know what I mean? And like how many reps I can do.
And you don't give up on your quality of life by counting every calorie. That's awesome.
No, I don't. But sometimes when I go to the gym, I call it paying M&M tax. Because, you know, you guys know that like our listeners know too. Everybody who knows me knows like I have my vice is peanut M&Ms. And I'll eat them and then I'll go to the gym and be like, I just burned off 7 of my M&Ms. Like M&M tax, here we go.
Yeah, because we've been programmed. But I like what you guys were saying and what Rena was saying. The conversation needs to just change. We need to stop saying that working out equals skinny. It's working out makes us healthy. But even more than that, working out makes us feel good and makes us make better decisions.
And the endorphins. You always talk about endorphins. That's a free way to get them.
exactly, a free way to get endorphins. And then we are very knee-jerk society. We just say things and then we're like, oh God, why did I do it? Social media, comments, how we react to our
Yeah.
friends and family. That's
Right.
one of the things I definitely do. Like when I'm really annoyed, and I'm annoyed a lot, but if I get an email from work, I will do a workout. And Samir knows this. I will go down and work out for 20 minutes. I will just 20 minutes on the elliptical, just to get the endorphins running, and then I will write back. That's something
Oh, that's good.
or in anything, even if I made a bad decision, like, I don't know, one night I drank too much or something, the next morning I'm like hurting. Samir's like, oh, and I was like, you know what? I have no one to blame but myself. I'm just going to go down and work out so I can counter this a little bit, you know?
Yeah, and get it out. Oh, that's interesting. So something I do with my kids if they're stressed out and there's like a big project or something's happening at school, there's social things that happen as they get older with friends or not friends. I've been saying like we need to take Bailey for a walk, and we go out for a walk. And you talked about this a little bit last time, how you talked about this previously too. Like when you run around with Allie, she's able to relax and tell you about her day.
That's why I do it after school, because I'm like, you're sitting at a desk all day. Right now, when you come home, we are running around for 20 minutes.
Yeah, just to get them going and to make them feel relaxed. And
make better decisions.
We started the school year off with going to the gym and really making a routine. And then we hit some bumps in the road with projects in school.
Oh, they go to the gym in the morning?
No, at night.
But still, they go there? That's awesome.
Yeah, we joined the YMCA and we were doing that. And then we hit some bumps in the road because someone comes to visit or something's going on in the evening and we're like, oh no, don't do that. But I have a confession. Yesterday, I had 30 minutes of quote unquote unscheduled time before I had to come home and get ready for dinner with guests over. And I chose, rather than trying to use that 30 minutes to like get ahead with work stuff that I was behind on, I went to the gym. I did a 32-minute workout. The first 21 minutes of it, I kept on checking my phone, responding to emails, sending texts. I was on the cycle. And then the last 8 minutes, I finally was able to like quiet my mind, get breathless, have my heartbeat really get high and like really get into it.
Because the endorphins kicked in.
Yes. And afterwards, I was like telling my friend, I was like, man, I spent 30 minutes. I only concentrated and really was into it for 8 minutes. And he said the greatest thing. He was like, that's 8 minutes more than you would have had if you did nothing.
And you're going to also be in a much better state of mind when you see your guests.
Yes. And then afterwards, I was able to like take a quick shower. I took a 5-minute shower, got ready. And then I went to a community event and I looked at people lovingly like, oh, hi, I'm happy to see you, rather than like, oh, great. What do you want me to do? I'm feeling annoyed. So I'm like, this is the beauty of it. It's like, it's helping everyone be better.
I guess the lesson today is that we're doing some things right and some things we can work on, like everyone else. I can work on my own personal self-image, but at least when it comes to like doing the right thing with working out, I think we're in a good place. Both of us.
Yeah, totally. And I need to reenact the personal self-image meditation you gave me, which was to look in the mirror and remind myself of all the things that I do have.
Oh, well, yeah, right. I do it. I'm going to add something now. Thank you for reminding me. Because I'll do the whole I'm beautiful, but I'm going to say I'm okay with how I look. And I need to say that with weight because I have that problem. So, yeah, I'm going to work on it.
Yeah, I'm going to start doing that too. That's a nice one.
Yeah, or like I'm going to accept my body as I'm aging. And it's okay.
Oh, and now you're reminding me of someone who, when I once said something about myself, about my, like, someone was like, oh, I really like your pants. And I was like, oh, and she was like, don't say anything negative about your body that gave you 3 kids. And she said something to me that was very personal. She said, my body wasn't able to give me any children.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, instant perspective reset.
Yes.
That I should not be complaining about the 6 pounds that I want to lose when my body gave me 3 healthy babies.
Exactly. You 3 healthy babies, your body is like has done so much and you're like such an awesome mom and you actually look wonderful, So let's just keep telling one another that, okay?
Yes, tell your friends and family, people.
And we're going to quit complaining about a few pounds.
And maybe I'll put the M&Ms down too. I mean, what the heck?
Dude, whatever. Those are good. I think I've told you that, right? I think we used to do this together. Like whenever we got an M&M, they probably stopped that now and there wasn't a peanut in it. It just pissed me off.
Yeah, it never happens anymore. It's very rare.
Oh, well, they fixed something in 15 years. At least in the world of M&Ms.
That's awesome.
Now just the educational system.
Yes, now we'll just work on educational, social skills, and body confidence. We got this.
Yep. Well, wow, I was really raw. I just realized in this podcast, but it's cool. People should know I'm not perfect.
Oh, we know, Lisa. Don't worry. We know. Our listeners know.
I don't think anyone thought I was synonymous with perfection.
And to our listeners, we want to know what you think. How do you address body image? Do you have the same concerns when you look in the mirror? We have just as many male listeners as we have female listeners. So I am really curious to know if this is a female conundrum or is this something that everyone goes through? Share your feedback and comments with us via Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. We love getting your direct messages and your emails and text messages. We've been getting a lot of those from people that we know personally. Keep them coming. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, thanks for listening.